nothing new, left turn, right turns. You do it you can probably do it in the sleep. You probably do it in a truck better than you do it in your car or pickup truck because this is what you do for a living. Everybody's professionals here, but I always like to bring it up into, I guess, the forefront of your mind again. You know, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, you know, you're aware of it, but I always like to bring it back up. So, naturally, when you drive a commercial motor vehicle in the city, every turn is tight. Anybody go through New York around here? Love it, right? In New York City, you go through Manhattan. Well, not so much Manhattan, but you hit Queens, Brooklyn, Maspeth, things like that. Very tight. You got cars parked illegally that aren't supposed to be there. All right, so you got, you know, every intersection is an obstacle course of motorists, pedestrians, traffic signals, power poles. And power poles are usually sitting right there on the corner. You have to watch. You know, days of the 48 footers, very rarely you're going to see them. Even though New York, the city, has a ban on 53 footers, it's very rarely enforced. You're not allowed in New York, in the 5 boroughs, with the 53-foot trailer. But it's very rarely enforced unless there's an accident. If you hit something, now you get fined for having a 53-footer. So they can't stop the industry because everybody has 53 footers. But this is how New York gets around it. You know, better than anyone, it takes real concentration and skill, you know, to safely turn a corner or pass through an intersection in an urban area. Rural intersections, you know, aren't easy either. You know, it depends on where you are. Your risk of dents, scrapes, injuries, fatalities, right, is dangerously high in these situations. You know, it makes sense to know and follow safe turning instructions, you know, and intersection techniques. You got a lot of pedestrians. They usually sit right there on a corner waiting. You know, as soon as that light turns green or gone, or sometimes don't even wait till that light. The light's red and they're still gone. So you may be coming through an intersection where you have green. You really got to watch for the other, you know, pedestrians coming through there. You know your vehicle's turning radius, your off-track path, your blind spot. You know, always plan your route in advance. You know, sometimes I'll know where I'm going, if I can turn here or turn there. You know, if you're in the city, you know, stay on the posted truck routes. I know most of you go into industrial areas, so you're not actually into the city itself. But a lot of you go into industrial areas, and that's where most of the transportation industry is. You know, usually outside the city or into an area the city is not congested, or you know, not as congested. Unless you're in Philly, you know, that city was built in what, 1776, and I think the roads are still that way. Allegheny Avenue, it's tight as can be, Huntington Avenue, all that. So you really got to, you know, watch out there. Be extra vigilant against traffic checks. You know, always yield the right of way to other vehicles and the pedestrians. You know, because they always have the right of way. Now, sometimes you could be turning. There has been a lot of instances in the city, and I know especially in New York, suicide by truck. Somebody will jump out in front of a truck, and I've seen it happen. I've been witness to it. I've investigated it. So you really have to watch. Many years ago, a company we both worked for, we had a driver who was driving through New York, made a turn. That guy walked out underneath his trailer on purpose. Thank God there was witnesses that said this driver has been walking in an intersection for the past 10 minutes, back and forth. Unfortunately, our driver was making the turn. He was already in his turn, and he was up against the building. As soon as that truck made the turn, he ran in front and walked underneath the trailer. Suicide by trailer. You heard of suicide by cop? This is suicide by trailer. So you really got to be vigilant and watch. Many turns and intersections incidents occur due to fatigue, grogginess, you know, after, you know, sleep periods. You know, remember that it's your responsibility to be alert at all times. You know, as a driver, you got so much going on, so much to think about. You're rushing to get your stops off. You know, hey, I got to get to the stop by 2 p.m. or they're not going to receive me, or I can't make the pickup. I don't want to be laid over somewhere. I get that. You know, try to give yourself as much time. You know, keep your head tight. You know, remember the things. You know, everybody went through the Smith system last year. You know, those 5 keys always work. All right, right turn procedure. All right, everybody knows it, but I'm still going to go over it. You know, get in the rightmost lane, adjust your speed, signal early so people know what you're doing, size up the intersection to determine the potential hazard before you get there. You have plenty of time to size it up. Get as far to the left in your lane as possible while you're trying to prevent someone from creeping up on you. You got a left turn lane or a right turn lane and you're in that right lane, or you may be in a middle lane because you know that turn is tight. As you're making a turn, a car will come up along the right side of you. So you want to block everything. Any entrance into that lane so a car doesn't come around you. I've seen it, and I'm sure you did. You're in the turn, and all of a sudden a car comes around and makes a right turn also before you get there. You know, cars are impatient. So we always tell you, block any entrance into that lane. Get about half of your vehicle past the corner before beginning the turn with the goal of clearing the corner by at least 1 foot. I know sometimes it may be a little tight because it's a small intersection or a small street. Sometimes you're going to go a lot further. Now, sometimes you clear an intersection by inches and not feet. And as I said, sometimes you can't. Thank you for that, by the way. Once your rig is halfway past the corner, again, turn your wheel sharply, accelerate slowly. Look in your right-hand mirror and glance ahead and make sure, excuse me, you know, and make the turn and adjust your path as necessary. Many times you're trying to make a turn, there's a car sitting at the intersection, he's not moving, he won't back up, and he's looking at you like you're nuts because he will not back up. How many times has that happened? They're beeping their horn and you're just sitting there. And then what happens? Car from behind you scoots around. And then, you know, all hell breaks loose between you and those drivers. And the drivers behind that car, they're not moving either because they're not giving them a break. So again, look in your mirror, make sure, you know, there's nobody coming up on the right of you. You know, immediately after you complete the turn, get in the rightmost lane, you know, and straighten your wheels. You do this every day. You do this in your sleep. Common right turn mistakes: approaching an intersection too fast, turning from the wrong lane, which would be turning from your left lane and to go to the right. Swing left before turning. Right? Again, you don't want to leave that opening for a car to come up along your right side. Not allowing for off track, not allowing the mirrors, not turning at the intersections controlled by traffic lights. I always say control, you know, turn, especially if you're making a left turn across a two-way highway, two-way road. Sometimes it's impossible to turn at a light because, well, you got stop signs because you got no lights coming the other way. But I always, you know, make an attempt to turn at a light instead of a stop sign, especially if you've got two-lane traffic. Again, left turning, you know, procedures. Again, signal early. You know, make your intentions known. Size up the intersection, determine the potential hazard. Get in the proper lane. You know, in most cases, turning from the lane nearest the center. You know, if there are multiple lanes, start in the rightmost lane. You know, stay in the lane during the turn. You know, if you're on a one-way street, start as far off to the left lane as possible.
See that back here? See this trailer here now? Now, normally, okay, you should be able to pivot this around that hole. A 53 pivots a little less stringent than a 48 on a pivot. A day cab, depending on the wheelbase, will pivot easier on the 53 versus a sleeper on, depending on the wheelbase, and vice versa with a 48. Pivot is so important coming around any turn, otherwise you're going to pinch it and you're going to get caught. I was with a client that does nothing but grocery deliveries, and some of the grocery stores get deliveries from outside carriers. The client that I was with that day, they were being taught a driving class, and we were out in the van, and up comes a sleeper with a long wheelbase, and he's got to make a delivery to one of the supermarkets in the northeast area of Philadelphia. And the supermarket, you have to go through the tunnel. Down the tunnel, you got to make a right, and once you make a right, you can spin around and pivot inside there, and there's 4 bays that are associated to make deliveries. 2 of them are dedicated because they utilize them for storage, so that leaves 3 bays open. It's a blind side shot. You're not blind, you're not putting in on the driver's side at all. It's got to come in on the blind side because you got fences up against you, and there's a dumpster over here, there's vendor carts over here, there's all kinds of stuff piled over here. And when he came in with the sleeper and his wheelbase, instead of getting out of his truck and surveying the area, if indeed he could make this, he didn't do that. He just drove straight in, and when he came in, it was like a very young driver, and we were there inside there. We were just surveying the area because I wanted to see the location, because guys were complaining that there was a lot of obstacles that they have to deal with on a daily basis to deal with. And I said, okay, well, this is what we're going to pick out the obstacles you have to deal with, and what's the best way to do it. And lo and behold, this guy just pulls down in his 53-foot sleeper cab. He's in a world of shit, pardon my expression, because there's no way he can do this. There's no way he can turn around in there. So what we did was, he got himself, and so he started to do it, but I just couldn't let this kid do this. So I got out of the van and I said, listen, this is not going to work. You got to back out of here. You can't pivot that here. You're going to crunch that cab. And he started to back up, and obviously, I won't mention any names of the carrier, but he wasn't very good at backing up. He's good going forward, but he wasn't backing up. So as he was backing up the driveway, the trailer was going more like this. And there's a wall here and a wall here. So it took about 25 minutes to get this kid to put this straight down. Now, we couldn't get in the vehicle for him to do it, because now the liability would fall on me or the other 5 individuals who were in the van. But all we were trying to tell him is turn your wheel this way, turn your wheel that way. He finally got out after 25 minutes, and then we were able to get out. And lo and behold, what does he do after we leave? He pulls back down in there again, trying to make the delivery. We didn't go back to see what the outcome was, but that's my understanding that somebody dropped the trailer and put it in for him, and he bobtailed out while somebody else could do it, but he wasn't in his truck, so they could make the delivery. But to get back to what I'm saying is, you got to make sure you can make the pivot, otherwise that pole is going to be coming down. Oh, help me, it's coming down. And Snyder usually has or JB Hunt, one of the guys that don't usually make city deliveries, usually like to take these poles down. So got to make sure you can pivot it. If you can't, back it up and get it, or slide the wheels. Do you slide wheels?
What's that?
Do you slide your wheels?
Sometimes.
Okay.
And if you do slide the wheels up on a 53, just remember the tail swing is about, 5 feet? On a tail swing. So depending on how tight you're turning it, a lot of times you're turning, you're making a turn, and sometimes that trail is backing up while you're going forward. Depends on the turn. All right. Again, approaching the intersection too fast, turning from the wrong lane, not gearing down, shift while turning, right, not allowing for off-tracking, not watching your mirrors, and again, failing for, to account for oncoming traffic. And when you're making a turn, car will see it, and he wants to get ahead of you before you make that turn, because they don't want to be delayed. Different intersections, see others, make sure they can see you before you enter the intersection. Again, this is all part of the Smith system, consistently scan ahead, again, part of the Smith system. Aim high in steering. Slow down at intersections. Even if it has green light. At intersection controls, traffic signals, anticipate when the light will be changing and prepare to stop. You're always doing that. You're driving on the city. Maybe you have to hit a couple lights and they're green and you start going through. One of those lights are going to turn red. Be prepared, to stop. Especially if there's a car in front of you. Because the second that light turns yellow, depends on where they are, they're slamming their brakes on. Especially if it's one of those long intersections. And I tell you what I really like, if you've seen it, I know I have them in my area, is the countdown. Especially in crosswalks or around schools. There's a countdown that tells you when that light's going to change. I don't know why every intersection doesn't have it. Some intersections will give you that little delay. I know there's one intersection, when that thing hits 0, that light turns yellow. But they have a countdown, from the time. When that light turns green, it's like 19, sometimes it's 25 seconds. But as you're approaching, I do it, I look at that countdown. Okay, can I make it? Is that light going to turn on me before I get to the intersection? If I got 5-6 seconds, yeah, I know I can make it. But if it's down to 2 or 1 second, I know I'm not going to make that, because if I'm able to see it, I'm going to have to slow down. So I wish every intersection would have that, but I'm sure it's too much money, and townships don't get the revenue. The rule of thumb with a cop is if the light turns yellow and you go through it, and it's still yellow, by the time you get to the other side, you're good. But if that turns red in the middle of that intersection you're going through, you just went through a red light. So my rule of thumb, if you can see that light turn red as you're going through the intersection, the cops saw you, you're liable for a ticket. And there's no argument on that, even though you went through it when it was yellow. After stopping at an intersection, definitely move slowly, then stop again, look left, right, left again before proceeding. Always remember to account for extra acceleration time, that you may need, and for the length of your trailer to get safely across the intersection. Yield to other vehicles already in a roundabout when you enter it. You don't think you have many circles around here. They're coming.
Coming.
New Jersey got rid of them all. They're putting them back. Yeah.
Do you know why they're putting the circles up versus the intersections? Because people have to think which way they go. At an intersection, there's too many accidents at intersections because either people stop, think they're going to stop, and another one comes, and then we have a crash. At these type of S intersections, people have to think on what they have to do as they come around. This one comes around this way, that one goes out that way. So people really have to put their brains together. In an intersection, they think they have the right of way, and they go right through it. Somebody else goes right through it, and you got a crash. So they're putting them in. They say this is supposed to be a safer design. We'll see.
They ought to ride with my mother.
She's still going around a circle.
Oh, no, it's like.
Does she
road
go
rage.
through
She
the-
gets, oh, yeah, she.
I mean, you have to
She can't
really.
get the concept
You
of
got
it.
it. You have to really think about it
No.
as you're coming in, going around. But yeah, they're putting them in.
The sad thing about it, they're not designed for 53-foot trailers.
No,
but
they're not.
they're designing them a little different. One of our clients, they just put one in. Christmas, around Christmas time, you opened it up. And when they were building it, because it's one of the clients I go to quite often, and I'm watching them build this, I said, there is no way a truck can make this circle. Not a chance in the world. It's too tight. Well, what they did, it's almost like a flat circle, and they got brick. It is meant for the trailers to go across that.
That's right.
So it's not like the old circles where if you hit it, you're stuck. So it's actually designed for a tractor trailer as you're making the turn when the trailer is off tracking is to go on that. The speed limit around that circle I think is 15 miles an hour. They have yield signs everywhere, and everybody gets confused. Who do I yield to? Does people in the circle yield to me coming in, or do I yield to the circle? You yield to the circle. anybody who is in that circle pattern, you must yield if you are entering it. You know,
Every time my mother-
everybody gets confused on
They
that.
yield to her. I'm telling you.
All right, let's see, yield yields. Because you're off tracking to the left, you know, but not to the exit right, you know, take it slow. Be extra careful to check your blind spots before making, you know, your exit. We always look at changing, you know, lanes and exits. You always got to watch. On and off exits. I call them the crisscross. You got one exit coming on and you're getting off. What happens? You're doing this. So you always got to watch the other guy coming on. Is he going to accelerate to you? Now, I've seen a lot of accidents where that happens. Where you got somebody coming on and you're trying to get off, but yet you're not in the exit lane because you can't get into that lane, you know, because of the way traffic is. So you always got to watch because you don't want this to happen. All right. Whether you're a new driver or a veteran, you know, practicing proper right and left turn and intersection techniques, you know, will help keep you and your vehicle safe, keep your also mind sharp, you know, even in tightest spots, and, you know, in the most dangerous intersections. So it always keeps your mind, you know, pretty sharp. Any questions on this?